Hello, my name is Stephanie Piedrahita. Thank you for joining me in my COVID and Early Childhood Education Connect, Extend, and Challenge reflection. The information connected strongly with what I already knew about child development, which is that social interaction is fundamental for young children. So, helping them develop language, learn to share, and build emotional skills is very important. So, when the children's childcare centers closed during COVID and social distancing was enforced, it made sense that many children missed out on critical experiences. Also, financial stress, the source confirms this, showing how job loss, house instability, and food insecurity during the pandemic disrupted children's lives. I've always been aware that the major event like the pandemic hits lower income families hardest, making the pre existing inequities even worse. My thinking was extended in several specific ways. First, the podcast offered real examples of developmental delays, like troubles with speech and difficulties in group settings. That moved my understanding from theory to concrete impact. One unexpected insight was the shift in social behavior. Children became more rule orientated, often tattletelling on one another for simple things. It highlighted how the pandemic shaped their sense of right and wrong. Another powerful idea was around sharing. So during the pandemic, children were taught not to share for safety, but now it's created a challenge. And as one speaker said, it's a harder thing to learn when you've learned not to share under trauma, and that really stuck with me. The source also deepens understanding for adverse child experiences, ACEs, explains how family separation, housing instability, and crowded homes can affect brain development and long term health, contributing to conditions like learning disabilities and depression. Dr. Misty also discusses on the cascading effects of educational disadvantage, and that was eye opening. Children who lose access to early education start school behind, and if they attend an under resourced school, the gap only widens. She also emphasized that poverty isn't new, but it's been elevated by the pandemic. Even with all the information, I still have big questions. For example, Dr. Aguilar talks about toxic stress, but how is that identified or measured in young children? I'm also deeply concerned about children who were conditioned not to share. So, how do we help them unlearn that? And what interventions can we use to rebuild those essential social skills now that the immediate health threat is lower? Another area that remains vague is mental health. So, one guest says that we need a lot of mental health to help kids relax and play, but what does that actually look like in practice? And also, what programs exist that are and are they accessible to the children that actually need them the most? Finally, I'm left wondering what are the actual points in the system that Dr. Mystery mentions where we can intervene and correct course before it's too late? Exactly what are they? Where can we intervene appropriately to make the best impact and change? And also, do we have those resources? And what can we do to create a real systemic change for children who are actually falling behind? In closing, this reflection helped me to see the pandemic's impact on children through a sharper lens. It connected me with what I already knew, it gave me new insights, and valuable information and raised some urgent questions that we all need to keep asking. Thank you so much for joining me.